Hello, everybody. Raven fans, Oriole fans, thank you for joining us this week on the Raven Sports Podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast for fans like me. Thank you very much for joining us all this week here. Thank you for watching all of us here. More have been watching. We are very appreciative of that. Thank you. I'm very appreciative of that, of all of you watching. If you're watching us right now, I'm sure you're watching us on our Twitch channel, on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, on our YouTube channel. So definitely we have people watching. Thank you all very much for doing that with us today. Bottom of the screen, Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com. Definitely our notary business, which has been growing as well. So definitely thank you very much for that as well. Definitely check us out if you are living in the Shenandoah Valley area. We will come out and notarize your documents with care. We will go ahead and take care of that for you as well. Thank you very much for that. Of course, you can buy all of our merchandise, ravorisports.company.site. We will go ahead and you can buy Raven Oriole jerseys, Oriole hats. I'm sure they're going to go pretty quick here with a playoff run that we're going with here. ravorisports.company.site as well. Also, too, as well, our very first Maryland basketball preview is on November 6th. So that is going to be the night before the Terp season starts on November 6th. So the season starts the 7th. We're going to preview Maryland Terps basketball. We're going to talk a lot of Big Ten basketball during that preview show. Lots of fun. I did the football one for the first time, and we're going to talk a little basketball. We're going to talk a little Terps today as well. So we're definitely going to go ahead and go over that. But let's go ahead and start with the NFL. And we had a Ravens game on Sunday. Let's go ahead and take a look. So the Ravens were not successful, unfortunately. So we had the Colts beat Baltimore. Talking a little bit about Baltimore history today, especially. So a lot of you Colts fans are probably not happy about this one, especially a lot of us Ravens fans as well. 22-19 was the score. In this one, Ravens were not successful against the almost the Baltimore Colts, Indianapolis Colts as well in this one. I kind of said this from the beginning, like Gardner Minshew playing instead of Anthony Richardson was a thing. Anthony Richardson, a young guy, I'm not even sure he's even ready to play. Great athlete, obviously, but he was in concussion protocol, and it's a much, much more polished quarterback. Gardner Minshew doesn't have the throwing arm, bit skinny, not necessarily pro type guy, but a lot of quote unquote moxie. Teammates really like him, really good in a pinch, really good maybe in a short term situation, good backup. And it definitely definitely was a productive day for him. Not great. This is kind of like what you'd expect from a Gardner Minshew. 27 of 44, 227, one touchdown pass in that one. I thought he was fine. I thought they blitzed him really good. But I thought he got out of it enough, got enough. He's this type of guy does just enough just enough to go ahead and uh, be productive. He did just enough with this to go ahead and square it away. They ran the ball a lot. Zach Moss filling in for Jonathan Taylor. I don't know how long, if they're even going to have Jonathan Taylor with the contract dispute that's going on. 30 carries. See that, John Harbaugh? Bell cow. 30 carries, 122 yards. Um, Good day overall. I thought with considering with so many injuries, they ran the ball fairly effectively. They kind of really stuck with the run a lot, and it really was effective for them. Not a lot of great days, not a good day for a lot of the receivers. Pittman had that long reception from Gardner Minshew that really made a good difference. Brandon Stevens, actually, I thought played excellent defense on that play, considering they got the long pass, but Pittman was able to come away with it, and that did most of the damage of the 9 carries, 77 yards. Most of these passes were of the short variety. I tell you what, you start talking about the Colts, you talk about DeForest Buckner, you talk about Shaquille Leonard, you talk about those guys. Zaire Franklin is leading the NFL in tackles. He's been fantastic all season long. 15 tackles, 1 sack. He was all over the field. This is why the biggest thing why the Ravens had so much problems here on Sunday, punching the ball in and getting the length of the field. Uh, let's take a look at the Ravens side here. What did they do? Lamar. Um, there was a lot of Lamar heat I saw on social media for I thought a guy who had a pretty good day. Um, he kind of lost it. I don't want to say lost it. Maybe that's too strong a word in the press conference. But, he had a few bad passes. He was 22 for 31, 202, 14 carries, 101, 2 touchdown runs. Um, Not bad at all. I mean, considering how banged up the team is, how bad the line was, I thought during this game. But he took a lot of heat in this one. Um, the one thing I would say, ball security is the thing. Like now, in this game, the weather was bad, but once again, you got to hold on to the ball, Lamar. You can't hold it like a loaf of bread. He's got to start running with the ball like a running back properly. He kind of holds it like a loaf of bread, which is something they tell you not to do in football. He's been able to get away with it because he's so fast. Like no one gets near him. As he gets older, he's going to do. I'm just starting to see a little bit more power runs. He's going to have to hold on to the ball properly and get that taken care of. Gus Edwards went out of the game. But before that, he was the Ravens leading rusher, 11 carries, 51 yards. We're going to get to the injuries here, but man, I mean, he went out with concussion protocol. Melvin Gordon Jr. Went ahead and finished up there, and that was definitely a key in the game there. Ravens just didn't have the run game, I'm sure, that they had hoped for. Zay Flowers, 8 carries, 8 receptions, 48 yards. He looked a little more contained than this one. There was no Odell Beckham, and I think it showed. A lot of defenses more in this one keyed up on him. Whereas before with Odell in the game, I thought he was able to kind of run free, kind of like not get double covered. Odell got a lot of the coverage, and he was a little free. Not totally, I mean, 48 yards, not horrible, but not what we've been seeing from him throughout the course of the year. Uh, Kyle Hamilton had 3 sacks in this one as well. I thought Kyle Hamilton was fantastic. Look, with all the injuries, they had to do a lot of exotic blitzes in this one. So what they had to do a lot of exotic stuff. So they did a lot of these safety rushes, cornerback rushes, and things like that. And I thought what they did, Kyle Hamilton took total advantage. 3 sacks in this one. So in the first half, that was one of the best first halves in NFL history. If you look at the stats, with a guy that one of the best histories in the NFL in first half for a safety. So yes, go shout out to Kyle Hamilton having an outstanding game. Had to be out there pretty much without a lot of the guys in this one. So Ravens not successful 22-19, unsuccessful beating the Colts. What happened? Uh, Matt Gay had a phenomenal day. Almost never have I ever watched a game the whole time we've had Justin Tucker where he got outplayed by a different kicker. Matt Gay has 5 field goals for 50 plus yards. So they weren't, it's not like they were killing you offensively with yards and things like that, but they were able to hit these long field goals, which caused the Ravens to go ahead and it caused the Ravens some problems. A little bit of issues with ball security. I thought the line wasn't good, really not good. I thought the game when they played the Bengals, they held up fairly well. I thought Mustafa, Brad Mustafa, I'm sorry, Sam Mustafa, rather, I'm sorry, and Patrick McCary really held up well against that. They didn't last week at all. I thought he was getting beat bad of McCary often in this game. Mustafa, I thought there was a lot of critical errors, more the bad snap, etc. I thought that definitely played a factor. Um, it, Injuries overall on this whole group. Odell Beckham was out. Javavian Clowney, I think he was on the injury report. Devin Duvernay, Justice Hill, Marlon Humphrey, Tyler Linderbaum, Adafi Owe, Ronnie Stanley, Marcus Williams. During the game, you had Gus. During the game, you had Gus Edwards. You had David Ajabo. You had Geno Stone go out for a little while. It's insane how many guys they're losing to injury every week. Now, again, I'm recording this. Some of you may have seen the presser and the injury. I can tell you, watching it Monday and Tuesday, John Harbaugh doesn't sound like these guys are going to play this week. He definitely doesn't sound like you guys will play this week. He didn't say anything about the injuries. He didn't say anything after the game, which is very unusual. Usually after the game in the presser, they talk about a lot of the injuries that they have. They didn't say anything about injuries in this one. So so definitely we have to go ahead and take a look and assume that a lot of these guys are not going to be back. You would have thought Marlon Humphrey should be around by now, but definitely he's not coming in. And the Ravens don't always fully disclose things as far as injuries. We saw that with the whole Lamar Jackson issue last year. This is a rumor. I don't know this can be firm, but apparently with the last game and Lamar was standing on the sideline at the playoff game, there was guys upset that Lamar wasn't playing the game. They were kind of thinking that he was just sitting out because of the contract. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think honestly they never disclosed the injury fully. That's why, I think he maybe was never. I'm of the belief more that he was probably never playing that game, and Harbaugh was just leading people to believe that he might. So we will see about the injuries, but man, the injury pace is astounding how many injuries you got. And this week, because you got a tough game going up against the Cleveland Browns. That is right. Cleveland Browns Stadium. It used to be First Energy Field, is what it was called. So the Browns actually going ahead and 2-1. The Ravens are also 2-1. Browns were successful last week with the Ravens lost. So this is going to be for first place in the North, AFC North. What has Lamar done this season? Saw a meme there where somebody said, well, after he signed the contract, somebody compared Lamar Jackson to Chris Davis. That's insane. He's carrying the team. He's got a 70+% passing percentage. He's only behind, I think, Kirk Cousins. I have to look it up, but he's like second in the NFL in passing accurate in passing percentage. Yeah, that's crazy. Um, I think Lamar, outside of the fumbles, has been really good. I think the first game, I think he was bad. I think the other two games, he's been fine. He's got to tighten up the fumbles. He's got to learn how to fumble. He's got to learn how to hold on to the football. Guys are knocking it out. He can't maybe run past guys like he used to a little bit. Not slow, but getting older. You know, just ball security is better. I think Lamar's getting rushed a lot. I don't know if we're gonna have Gus Edwards in this game. No Justice Hill last week. No J.K. Dobbins, obviously, all season long. Uh, Very interesting to see what the Ravens actually do going forward at the running back position. Uh, I have no idea if Gus is going to be in there or not. I would assume if he's out of concussion protocol, that's something where you never know. Concussion protocol, he could be fine. He could be on the practice field Wednesday, ready to go. He could be out a month. You never know. It's when you get cleared out of the concussion, how bad is concussion? Your brain is actually bruised. It's very good that they are taking these precautions as well. I think you will see a lot of Melvin Gordon in his stead. Keaton Mitchell should be coming off the IR. Kenyon Drake actually played last week. He was signed from last year. So Kenyon Drake was pretty good last year as well. Zay Flowers has been the leading receiver this year. 21 receptions rather, 188 yards. Mark Andrews not as active as so far, like in the first game. Missed the first game last week. I thought we'd see a little bit more of Mark, especially with no Odell, and teams were keying up on him. We'll see if we can get more of Andrews. I think Zay Flowers, I mean, the early returns have been very good. I think he's going to get more attention from the defense, definitely, without Odell Beckham in the game. Bateman, again, another guy injured. I'm almost forgetting like how many injuries they got. The numbers are astounding how many injuries they've actually had. Kyle Hamilton was outstanding last week. He's got 3 sacks on the season. I think he's the one guy for sure on defense. He's probably your best defensive player in the back end. Kyle Hamilton does his best work close to the line of scrimmage. Not that he can't cover or tackle downfield or anything like that, but he really is a game record actually when he gets close to the line of scrimmage, when he can actually get up on receivers tight, when he can actually get close to the line of scrimmage. Downfield, he's a pretty good guy as well, but really you can really use him well around scrimmage. He's going to have his hands full with this Cleveland Browns defense. Also, too, Ravens. Cleveland, number 1 defense in the entire NFL by a good margin, too, by about 40, 50 yards. So Browns, very good on defense. Sean Watson, I don't think he's been that bad. I think, like, again, with Lamar, I think people just need to relax. Everybody's so big to say something clever. Or say, I mean, 678, 4 TDs, 2 interceptions. Not fantastic, but, long way to go. I think a lot of these guys were lousy the first week. He's starting a little bit to get it together. The defense has been so good. He hasn't had to be great yet, but definitely Deshaun Watson, I thought, pretty good still. I think this is a guy definitely still capable of throwing the ball downfield. That super nasty injury to Nick Chubb took him out for the season. If he ever plays, I'd be surprised if he plays again. That knee injury looked terrible. So Jerome Ford is the number 1 back. 41 carries, 160 yards, 1 TD. They did sign Kareem Hunt. So Kareem Hunt had been with them for years as well. And they went ahead and signed him back. See how many carries he gets. I'm thinking it's going to be Jerome Ford. I think Hunt is just going to use him sparingly or something that happens to him. I think you will see him in the game as well. They're going to run the football. I definitely think that's something that's a strength that they do. They're definitely going to try and run the football. They're going to have their hands full against a good Ravens run defense. Amari Cooper, 17 carries, 17 receptions, 243. He's good every year. Good every year. He kind of like he's got a little bit of Mike Evans in terms he's underrated. He's not quite as high volume as a Mike Evans, but the numbers don't lie with Amari Cooper. Every year he's around that 1,000-yard mark whenever he has that good quarterbacking. I think that's the only thing where it's kind of years he's kept them from that number. But Amari Cooper is really, really good. Um, I think definitely too. What I'm doing with him, the way Brandon Stevens has played, I'm putting Brandon Stevens on. Brandon Stevens has been uh, very pleasant surprise. I was very impressed last week with him, and that's why I'm putting Mark Cooper on the guy who's been my best corner during the course of the regular season as well. And this guy needs no introduction. 4.5 sacks already. Myles Garrett, my goodness. They're going to have to give help no matter who it is, even if it's Ronnie Stanley playing, which I don't know who's going to play. But definitely McCary, or if it's Morgan Moses, you're going to have to give help. This guy is going to wreck it's going to wreck everything if you don't put two guys on him. I expect to see more Ricard in this game as well for that reason. Because there's no way there's no way you can there's no way they can block this guy like consistently. He's going to be in your backfield the whole game. X factor for the Ravens. Just mentioned it. Offensive line. Who's even playing? Are we going to have Linderbaum this week? Are we going to have Ronnie Stanley this week? That's going to be huge considering the Browns have the best defense in the NFL. They probably have the best pass rusher, top two, if it's not him, if it's not J.J. Watt, it's him as far as pass rush in the NFL. Who is going to be on the line? How effective is the line going to be? Did not look great last week. So that whole line is an X factor. I think they struggled a bit, honestly, in some positions, except for Kevin Zeitler, who's been really good. I think Kevin Zeitler is very underrated. It's very good. X factor on defense. They finally signed Kyle Van Noy. So definitely that tells me about Odafe and David Achabo. So she went out and signed somebody else, another vet, to actually come in and help out. That tells me, all right, hey, maybe you don't have these guys. Maybe you don't have Tyus Bowser coming back soon. So, man, the injuries. Van Noy, I think, is more. He's not really a pass rusher, in my opinion. He's going to rush the passer some, but he's a more set the edge guy. That's it. So he's a guy that's going to go ahead and guys are going to try and run outside and get outside of him and all that. Quarterbacks, running backs trying to get outside of him. You're going to have a tough time with the Kyle Van Noy out there manning that outside position. He's a good guy to have, especially if you don't have a Tyus Bowser. He can fit that type of role, in my opinion. He'll have some days where he's a pass. But I think that's kind of his role. We'll see how much he even plays, though. That's why he's an X factor, because they just signed him this week. I'm sure he'll be at practice Wednesday, ready to go, because they brought him in a couple times, I'm sure. 31-24, Browns over the Ravens. Browns defense is fabulous. They've actually played some good teams. I think they maybe get the win over the Ravens. Unfortunately, Ravens is just so banged up. I can't even say how Ronnie Stanley's going to do, how Linderbaum's going to do, how the outside linebackers are going to do, how these guys are going to do. Are you even going to have Gus Edwards in this game? I think you're too banged up to go against a team that's good. The road games the next 2 weeks. I think Pittsburgh game, you'll have a much better shot against Pittsburgh. But I don't see how you block Myles Garrett with that as well. And again, I'd love to see the product, but I don't. Harbaugh just he definitely didn't sound like a guy. All right, with the enthusiasm, when you could tell where we're getting these guys back and be able to win. So there you go. There is the review of the Colts game and the preview of the Browns game that is coming up in Cleveland Browns Stadium. That is right. Very creative name, Browns City of Cleveland. I know they lost First Energy name off the stadium, but that's just bad. So that was just bad. Uh, so here we go. Big five biggest games on the schedule this week that are not Ravens games. So we're definitely going to go over that. Last week, Saints and Packers. Packers were effective. I think the Packers. I think those two teams are fairly evenly matched. I think the Saints probably best team. I'm still going to say that they're probably the best team in that division. Packers, Jordan Love. I, I'm still kind of where I was with Jordan Love as far as that goes as well. No surprise, 49ers over the Giants. Um, the no surprise there. Sunday night game I thought was interesting as well. Uh, I will say this. I know this wasn't a big five. Miami and Denver, that was insane. How does the team give up 70 points in a game? Uh, I'll say this too. Vance Joseph, and I'm not for this in life in general, whatever. There's no way I'd kept Vance Joseph. You can't give up 70 points in an NFL game and run my defense the next week. No way in the world. If I was Sean Payton, I'd have absolutely got rid of him. So Sunday night game was interesting. I didn't go the way I wanted. I think the Steelers and the Raiders are very similar. Um, I think the Raiders are just underachievers. They have that's kind of what I saw. They have as much talent, but they can't seem to put it together and put it through. All right, first game, Thursday night game. So Amazon Prime, good games on Amazon Prime so far this year. I think they kind of demanded a better schedule, and so far, so good. They got a better schedule because this was the big game at the end of last year. The Lions going against Green Bay. This is going to be big for the Lions too. This kind of like cemented them as a good team, and they kind of need to do it again. The Packers have kind of won a couple games here with Jordan Love. And won a couple games with Jordan Love. Lions are 2-1. Lions, I think, are pretty good. Statistically, these two teams are very similar. About defense is about middle of the pack, offense is about middle of the pack, etc. Um, I think I'm gonna go with the Lions in this one as well. I think even though they won the game last year, I think they'll be hungry to get it. I still think they feel like they have something to prove to actually win this game. So I actually like the Lions in this one. Uh, it's close, but I think they just have the better quarterback. Love, I'm just not sold. He's got seven. His completion percentages are like 53%. He either has a good game with the percentage and gets now yards, or he's throwing picks. So we'll see how that goes on Thursday. Commanders going against the Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, Eagles, very good. Second in the NFL in rush offense. They did go ahead and replace Miles Sanders with DeAndre Swift. Jalen Hurts kind of off to a show start. The rush defense is very, very good, as we know what their inside guys are outstanding. They're the first in the NFL in rush defense. The the Commanders, uh, they love their tackles. Monte Sweat is off to a good start. I think Sam Howell got exposed last week. He had 4 picks. When he played a very good Bills defense, I think this uh, defense that the Eagles have is comparable to that. Even though Hurts is off to a bit of a slow start, he's still on a different level as Howell. I think that's the difference. I like the Eagles actually in that one to go ahead and win this game. Okay, can't wait for this one. The the new crown Super Bowl champions, apparently, Miami Dolphins, after wins here. Um, Here's a couple of stats that nobody says about Miami: 23rd in total defense, 21 in scoring defense, 22 in rush defense. Nobody's noticed their defense is terrible. I haven't heard that mentioned all week. I understood you scored 70 points. And this team is going to score early in the year in warm weather. They may score later in the year. They definitely have that. But they're going into Orchard Park against a team, the Bills, who just hung 30 points 2 straight weeks. They're very good. Josh Allen, I think, is absolutely turning this thing around. I love the Bills defense as well. I think they can. You have to have good corners, good safeties to match up with the Bill, to match up with those great wide receivers that Miami has. So I like the Bills in this game. Um, as good as the Dolphins have been on offense, nobody's kind of noticing the defense has not been good. They've been giving up a lot of points. Even last year, even winning by 50 points, like, which that's insane. Russell had a good day. He had 308 yards. So yeah, I'm not as in love with the Dolphins, even though they're scoring a lot of points. I mean, they're scoring points so at an incredible rate. But the Bills I think, can keep up with them, slow them down a little bit on defense. The Patriots going against the Cowboys in this one. Cowboys averaging 28.7 points a game, fourth best defense in the entire NFL. Going into this one, third best scoring defense in the league. Those stats are great, but you lost Trayvon Diggs. That's a big loss. Even more now, they're happy they signed Stephon Gilmore in this one as well. Can the Patriots take advantage of that? And I'm not sure. Matt Judon is having off to a good start. He's got 4 stacks. I think Christian Gonzalez is a phenomenal rookie prospect that they have. I think is as a young player, phenomenal rookie as well. I think defensively, I think they're fine. I don't think they have enough offense to take advantage of that of the Cowboys situation on defense. If they can exploit that. I think it'll be close though. I would say this: Dak Prescott, quarterback Mike McCarthy. I see a lot of every time they lose a game, they're the problem. I don't know why that is. I mean, they're kind of like in that every time the Cowboys lose, it's McCarthy or Prescott can't play, can't do this. I think the Cowboys kind of slipped on a banana peel a little bit against Arizona. I think they'll be fine. One more here, Sunday. I think this is Monday night. I'm sorry. The Seahawks going against the Giants. Gino, off to decent enough start. I mean, I think he's 8th in the NFL in completion percentage. Kenneth Walker, he's like 4.3 yards a carry, 204 yards with 4 TDs. Giants, they gave up 30 points in each of the 3 games. That's the thing. That's kind of like the baffling part. Everybody so much loves the Wink Martindale defense. Daniel Jones, 40%, under 50% QBR. I tried as much as I can. The only thing I would say with the Giants is the cross-country trip, and it's a long trip for Seattle to go ahead and do that. I think Seattle should win. Giants have some issues in their division. Even though they made the playoffs last year, I think they have some issues. They have. I think that would be the thing that they can. The defense has got to wake up, but I like the Seahawks in this one. There you go. Big five biggest games on the schedule that's not Raven games. So definitely check out all the games this weekend as they go ahead and check out Raven and all the other NFL games. Terps went ahead and played a game as well on Saturday. They went ahead and played a Big Ten game against the Michigan State Spartans that are now looking apparently for a head coach. They went ahead and got rid of Mel Tucker as the head coach of the Spartans. Terps roll them. The Spartans don't have a quarterback. They have a couple issues going on. I think a lot of problems that they have. Terps, I would say 4-0 is 4-0. I'm going to say that. I think they've kind of steadily improved each week. I don't think they've played any good teams, frankly, but they've steadily improved each week. I thought Tua was very good at the start in this one. I thought the offensive line protection has been getting better each week. I think the defense has been getting better as well. I thought Bro Braid, I mean, had the interception in that one. I think he's probably their best defensive player that they have, even though he went out. Tariq Still, I think is really good as well. I think he's definitely got a lot of potential to do well. Um, I'm going to talk about Michigan State a little bit. The Mel Tucker situation that's going on. He's fired. Apparently, he's been told that he is going to be let go as the head coach of Michigan State. He is. Oh, I'm sorry. Told he's being let go as the head coach at Michigan State. I'm going to say this much about the Mel Tucker situation. He is, as far as exactly what happened, I'm not going to go too much into that. I think clearly somebody wanted him out. Um, I think what the deal is, it hasn't gone as well as they hoped, and this is their excuse to fire him and not pay him all that money. And I think that's at the bottom line of this. I think that young lady is has some issues, possibly. Apparently, she's done this before or whatever. Um, because to tell the whole story, Mel Tucker was let go for apparently sexual harassment of an employee of a contractor that somebody worked for Mississippi State. So it was a young lady reported him, and apparently there was a conversation with relations over the phone sex conversation that they had. That the administration found out about it and they let him go. Um, my just thought process, I have no proof of anything. I just know this definitely sounds like they're not happy with the way it's going, and this was the excuse they used to let him go. It doesn't sound like this sounds like a very kind of weak sauce thing to go ahead and let a guy go over. Uh, I think it's very unfortunate for everybody involved that the Spartans now have to pretty much lose a whole season over this. So again, with Tucker, they're kind of a weak excuse. They're going to mess up the whole season. That's very unfortunate. What's going on in Michigan State? So Maryland 5-0 have a chance to go against Indiana. So Indiana, Maryland next week down at College Park. One heck of a basketball game. Two great basketball schools, even though it's a football game they're going to have. So they have a chance to go into the Ohio State game. And we're definitely going to go more in depth with that big noon Saturday game against Ohio State. What they could both be 5-0 in that game. So let's go ahead and root for the Terps in that one as well. All right. So unfortunately, we have lost one of the greatest Baltimore sports legends of all time here on Tuesday. Brooks Robinson, unfortunately, at the age of 86, has passed away. Brooks Robinson was a tremendous figure in Oriole history. I think probably him and Cal Ripken are the only other one. I think probably him, Cal Ripken, and Jim Palmer are sitting at the head of the table as far as for the Orioles of all time. There's no other things. There's three names there. There's Cal Ripken, there's Jim Palmer, and there's Brooks Robinson. Brooks Robinson, the player. The stats are off the chain. 200 and the stats are off the chain. 286 RBIs, 286 home runs rather, 1,357 RBIs, almost 3,000 hits, 2,848 hits, 482 in doubles, and there's in the staggering 16 Gold Gloves. I think he hasn't been on the field my entire lifetime. I'm 40 something years old. 1977 is when he's retired. It's not even close to anybody being a better defensive third baseman. This is the greatest defensive third baseman in the history of the MLB. I don't think there's any question about it how good Brooks Robinson was on the field. Um, More importantly, I think for all of us Baltimore sports fans, especially if you're my age and you grew up in the '80s with all that, the era that Brooks was in. Um, this is how I remember. I'm going to go ahead and play a little clip here of Brooks here, uh, out here doing his thing with the great Chuck Thompson.
Baseball's classic, and rightly so. But to tell you the honest to goodness truth, it might get to be almost anticlimactic. The Orioles and the Chicago White Sox, absolutely the two best teams in the American League, are battling in the American League Championship Series this year. And Brooks, 162 games.
Fair use.
Behind
Fair
the White
use.
Sox have won 99, the Orioles win 98, and it might come down to just 3 games.
Chuck, I tell you, Pete Rose put it aptly last night when he said the World Series is a piece of cake when it compares to the playoffs. I've played in both. I've won. I've lost. And believe me, losing in the playoffs is really a downer. That is no fun at all. And it's 3 out of 5. And once you get behind, it's awful tough to catch up when you're only playing 3 out of 5.
Well, Brooks, let's take a look. Your comparison and your evaluation of the White Sox and the Orioles.
Both of them had tremendous second halves. Both of them came alive. The White Sox got straightened out defensively. But the big thing over the second half, Hoyt, Dotson, and Bannister went 42 and 5. And you can imagine 3 pitchers winning 42 games, only losing 5 the second half. That's the reason they're in the playoffs. The Orioles just outran everyone else going down the stretch the second half. Murray and Ripken played sensational baseball. And what I think it comes down to, Chuck, is can we dent the White Sox starting pitching? That is the key. The other thing is, can we keep Rudy Law off the base?
Awesome, man. Oh man. Oh, growing up watching these guys, it was incredible. These were the first voices of baseball for me. Having these guys, ain't the beer cold? Chuck Thompson calling the games. This is, and I don't want to go too inside like the media part of it, but their voices are very distinct. Back in the days of radio, that's almost like lost now because anybody can go on the internet, but like the voices are very distinct. Brooks with that Arkansas accent that he had, and you saw what they were. It was fantastic watching those guys growing up in baseball, and that's kind of more for me because he played really before I was born. But listening to him call the games with Chuck Thompson and call the games for years in Baltimore as an announcer and as a symbol, kind of like an ambassador for the club as well. So it's this is absolutely, in my opinion, when somebody lives 86 years and is great as Bruce Robinson was, it's absolutely a celebration of the life when somebody passes on like this, and when we have a true legend of the game of baseball. So Brooks Robinson absolutely was that. So let's go ahead and celebrate the life of Brooks Robinson with celebrate the life of Brooks Robinson in the next week, and remember all the things he's done for the Oriole organization and the city of Baltimore as well. All right. So let's get to the Orioles report. Actually, what's going on the field right now. Next week, we're going to recap the entire month of September. I don't think we're going to have any games next week. Hopefully, if we come in first place, so they're going to be able to skip the wild card round. So they're also going to be able to sit back in the wild card round and not play at all. They're actually successful. Here's your weekly Felix Bautista update. He has been pitching steadily now. He's been pitching the live hitters. He's been pitching in the rotate. I mean, he's been pitching out there every day. I'm thinking they're ready for the playoffs, especially if you can get the number one seed and then you have more time to actually use it. So the season ends Sunday, the round, and I have to look it up off the top of my head. I don't think they'd even start the playoffs until Saturday or Sunday, the next round. So that's you got a few weeks still to actually do that, to actually go ahead and get him in the playoffs. I'm thinking he's going to pitch. They're not working as hard to shut him down unless he has a setback. Orioles win 2 out of 3 games against the Astros. Um, I thought this was a very good tell. I think this is the Astros is a team that's been there year after year. They are a solid baseball team. I don't think they're quite as good this year, but to actually go into Houston and win 2 out of 3 games, that's a tell. That's, hey, you got something special here as well. They hit against anybody. I've seen that all year long. Doesn't matter who it is. They'll have some nights that are off nights, but it doesn't matter who they're playing, they can hit. This lineup is very good from top to bottom, very good even as you go to the bench. So that's a very good tell. Split 4 games with the Guardians. I thought they kind of fell asleep the first 2 games. I mean, and again, that's when they lose. They lose games when they can't hit. They lose games when the bats go quiet. That's kind of when they kind of lose games when they don't hit the ball as well in the first one as they do in the rest of the games. But they still split 4 games, and they did win the first game against the Nationals. Bradish was fantastic again. Pitching rotation, I would be very shocked in that first playoff game if it is the divisional round, or it's still a chance it could be the wild card round. It's got to be Bradish in the first game. You have now time, especially if you actually go ahead and get the number one seed, you have time to go ahead and set it up. You actually can use Bradish in the first one. For me, it's Bradish's one. Definitely Grayson Rodriguez is getting a start. It'll be interesting to see if they go with Kyle Gibson or Kramer in the one. John Means. I'm using John Means. John Means, I think was fantastic for a guy who hasn't pitched at all. he was terrific in his last start. So interesting to see what the rotation actually looks like in the playoffs. Usually you only use 4 guys. So that'll be interesting to see what that is. Ryan Mountcastle is expected to return from the IL this week. He kind of Brandon Hyde. I did read though a little bit today that he did kind of backpedal a little bit from that he was going to come straight off the IL right away. So this thing has kind of progressed in the wrong direction. First, he said, "Stay today. We probably won't have to put him on IL. Yeah, we'll put him on IL, but he should come right off." Now he's like, "Well, we might need a couple more days." So kind of trending in the wrong direction. Pretty confident again. He's going to be there in the playoffs to actually play as well. I think that's kind of also too in the mind of Brandon Hyde as well. Hey man, we want these guys ready to go when the playoffs start. I think he'll be in there before that. As far as getting that squared away, I think Mountie will be ready to go. Jackson Holiday by Baseball America is named the minor league player of the year. So absolutely. This one, let's go ahead and give a round of applause. Round of applause for Jackson Holiday. There you go. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think this goes in the Homer Simpson category. Like, no, there was no debate. He hit 400, moved up 4 levels, hit 3 and 400 at every level. I think he was sensational all through the play, all through the offseason, all season long. He was fantastic. I think he is absolutely in line to be your starting shortstop next year at third base. No question about it. I don't know if that's going to happen right away. I I don't think they're going to rush it necessarily, but I don't see any reason to waiting. I mean, he's been great all year. Definitely minor league player of the year. He's been really, really good this year as well. Kyle Gibson leads the American League with 15 wins. Yes, wins. How about that? Man, times have changed. Uh, Leading the American League with 15 wins. Usually, like 15 wins used to be the low mark for a good ace season. You get about 14 to 15. Years ago, like maybe if you had an ERA, a sub 2.5 ERA or something, you would be, you have 12, 13. But uh, 15 wins. Good for Kyle Gibson. For him, he's been pretty good. He's been as advertised. I think that's been a good signing overall. And I think he probably will lead the American League in wins. So good for Kyle as well this year. Orioles again had the best record in the American League the last time, 2014. That was the last time the Orioles had the best record in the American League. They had 97 wins, I think it was. They have not won 100 games since Earl Weaver managed the Orioles rather, in 1980. That's why I didn't remember, because I was only 3 years old. That's how long it's been since they've won 100 games, and they're definitely on pace to do that. Magic number as of this recording is 2. So, looking very good to get the number 1 seed. We'll definitely probably next week we'll be talking to you about how we have the number 1 seed in the American League as far as the rankings go. Definitely. So definitely check out the Orioles this week as well. Last couple of games of the series of the year. Right now going against the Nets. One more series after that against the Red Sox, who are now eliminated as well. One other thing that definitely wanted to discuss here. Definitely wanted to get this in here real quick. I wanted to talk about this last week, but I kind of ran out of time. I'm going to talk about Deion Sanders here. Last week I was going to say too. First of all, shout out to the brother. Shout out to Deion. It's fantastic what's going on in Colorado. I think this is a great story. What's going on? I think there was a little bit too much hype. I think it's cost him, and you saw it in this last game. I think you saw it in the Colorado State game. People need to slow the roll a little bit, right? the Colorado State game, it was a bit too much for me. You had Lil Wayne, you had The Rock, you had all these, you had college game. He was on 3 different. It was a little bit too much. It was a little bit too much. And I absolutely think teams are going to start targeting him. He's a big talker. I absolutely think that late hit on Travis Hunter was, in fact, because of all the trash talking. And I got no problem with trash talking in football or sports or anything. I got no problem with it. But I think it is, in fact, putting a target on the teams, on the players. They actually have to go out there and actually do it. That being said, what he's done at that school is phenomenal. Phenomenal. They won 1 game last year. They were blown out in every game. He has been able to go ahead and turn this around. He beat TCU, which was a team that was the Buffaloes beat TCU. That was a team that actually made it all the way to the national championship game. He went ahead and beat Nebraska. The Colorado State game, I thought it kind of showed, and that's kind of the thing in that, where they all the targets and all the stuff, because they should have, the Colorado State talent-wise should have been in that game, but they actually won that game very narrowly. Oregon's a real team. They got blasted. I don't think they beat USC either. But that doesn't change the fact that what he's been able to accomplish, the ratings, the TV ratings, and everything showed. So Shout out to Deion Sanders, what he has been able to accomplish. But I think it's for me at least, it's a little bit too much at times. It's a little bit too much. Let's see him win. And again, I'm big on wins and losses. He's winning. So let's go ahead and let this play out a little bit more. But oh God, the emotion that everybody has, it's just unbelievable. We're still in September. let it play out a little bit more with Dion. All right. So thank you very much for watching the Baltimore Sports Ravery Podcast, the Ravery Sports Podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast for fans like me. Definitely check us out on all of our social media platforms. Like and subscribe. Thank you for joining us. You have an awesome rest of your day. Enjoy all the games. And also, yes, we will be joining you this weekend after the Ravens game. We'll be there. Hopefully, we could get there right after the game this week, after the Browns game this week, and we could talk about a Ravens victory. So, again, enjoy the games. Have a great rest of your day.